Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning, rolled over to the person you once promised forever to, and felt something you could not put into words? Maybe it was just the faintest whisper of distance where there used to be warmth, maybe a pinch of irritation where patience used to live. Maybe you found yourself wondering quietly in your own mind what changed and when it changed. If you have ever felt that moment, you are not strange. You are not broken, and you are not alone. And the truth is, this mystery is not always as deep as it feels. Sometimes the reasons are much more practical, much more ordinary, much more human than we realize. Stay with me, because what I am about to share might surprise you, and if you listen closely, you might even recognize yourself or your partner in the words you hear. You see, when men start to feel distant from their wives as the years pass, it is not always about a dramatic betrayal or a sudden explosion of anger. More often, it is a slow, quiet drift. Something that begins so softly you hardly notice it, something that gathers weight over the years, like dust on a shelf, until one day you look up and wonder how it all got there. If changes that cause this are not always grand, they are often small, almost invisible changes in daily routine, changes in health, changes in dreams, changes in how do people see the world after decades of living side by side. And those changes matter more than most people realize. When you are young together, everything feels alive and urgent. You are building a home, building a career, raising children, planning for the future. You are teammates on the same mission. You are fighting the same battles and celebrating the same wins. That kind of partnership grows a deep loyalty and love, but it also creates a rhythm. You start to know each other's moves without thinking. You start to rely on the way things have always been. Then one day, the big projects fade away, the children grow and leave, the career slows down or ends, the house is already built. The mission that once pulled you both forward suddenly quiets, and the rhythm changes. The silence between the beats feels strange, and for many men, that silence is uncomfortable. They look across the table and realize they do not recognize the woman sitting there in quite the same way anymore. And let us be honest, women often feel the same. But today we are speaking from the man's side of the road. Maybe you notice she has become more controlling, or that she criticizes you more, or that her smile shows up less often, or maybe it is not her at all. Maybe it is you. Maybe you are the one feeling restless, feeling boxed, and feeling like something is missing, but you cannot even name what it is. That is one of the trickiest parts. These feelings do not come charging in overnight. They slip in quietly. One day, you ignore a little remark she makes. Another day, you feel a sharp edge of irritation when she asks you to do something. Slowly, you start spending more time in the garage, on the golf course, or in front of the television, and less time truly talking. And before you know it, the gap between you has grown, without either of you making the choice. Here is where it gets practical. As we grow older, our needs shift, our energy changes, our patience thins, our bodies ache more, our minds tire faster. When two people are both changing, but not in the same ways, friction shows up. Small misunderstandings feel like personal betrayals. Little annoyances grow into what feels like massive insults. It is like two gears that once meshed perfectly, wearing down over the years until they start to grind against each other. And that grinding wears on you. Expectations also creep in. When you have been together 30, 40, 50 years, you expect your partner to know you inside and out. You expect them to sense your mood, to guess what you need, to understand without you saying a word. But the truth is, none of us are mind readers, and sometimes the longer we have been together, the less we actually communicate. We start to assume, we start to guess. We fill in the blanks ourselves, and often we get it wrong. And each wrong guess leaves a small bruise. There is another layer too, and this one we almost never speak out loud. Loss, the loss of youth, the loss of dreams, the loss of the life we once imagined. Not always because anything went wrong, but simply because time moved forward. And sometimes, when a man looks at his wife, he sees a mirror showing him everything he feels he has lost. He sees the years that have passed, the opportunities that slipped away, the parts of himself he does not recognize anymore. And in those moments, it is not truly about her. It is about him, about his own regrets, about his own unmet needs, about the parts of life that feel like they have slipped through his fingers. You might resent her for being critical, but maybe her criticism is her way of fighting invisibility. You might think she nags because she enjoys picking at you, but maybe she is scared of being forgotten, scared of being left alone, scared of losing you, not just to another person, but to time, to illness, to indifference. Fear can wear so many masks that we mistake it for something else. Entirely no, here is something worth holding onto. None of this means love is gone. None of this means you chose the wrong person. It means you are human, and marriage is not a straight road. Marriage is a winding path full of detours, sharp turns, and stretches of road you never expected. Some men at this stage pull away, they retreat into silence. Others let anger rise and spill over. Some hide inside hobbies or work. Some even imagine they would be happier alone or with someone new. But most of the time, the problem is not only about who you are with, it is also about where you are in your own life story. Because if you do not face it, the same feelings will follow you wherever you go. One of the biggest reasons this disconnection grows is that couples stop sharing new experiences. Think about it. When you were younger, you were always doing new things together, trips, projects, adventures. Even small things like painting the living room or planting flowers in the garden brought a sense of teamwork. Those shared experiences create new bonds and new memories, and those memories keep love alive. But as the years pass, routine takes over. The same chair, the same dinner, the same television show every night, the same silence without words. And when there are no new memories to soften the old ones, the resentments of the past have more room to grow. And so many men do not even realize that what they are feeling is not just boredom or irritation, but a deep craving for connection and novelty. And if they do not reach for it, the gap between them and their partner will only widen. This is why understanding this quiet, slow drift is so important, because if you can see it early, you can change the direction before the road between you becomes too hard to cross. So let me ask you this: what if the distance you feel right now is not the end of love, but simply a signal, a sign that something needs to be rebuilt, renewed, and rediscovered? What if, instead of silently letting the rhythm fade, you could learn to dance with each other again, even in a new way? That is the possibility worth holding onto, and it begins with one choice: the choice to notice instead of ignore, the choice to talk instead of stay silent, the choice to remember that the person sitting across from you is not just your spouse, but also the one who once made your heart race. And if you are still listening right now, it means part of you knows there is something here you need to hear. Part of you remembers what it felt like to feel truly close. Part of you knows it is worth finding that again. One of the biggest reasons men feel themselves drifting away from their wives as the years pass is something so simple you might overlook it. It is the loss of shared new experiences. When you were younger, you and she were always doing new things together: a weekend trip to a place you had never seen, a home project that left you laughing, covered in paint, a garden planted side by side that grew into something beautiful. Even if it was not perfect, these moments were not just activities, they were the glue that held you together, because they created fresh memories and gave you new stories to share. And those stories made you feel like a team, working towards something side by side. But somewhere along the way, the adventures faded. You sit in the same chair night after night, you watch the same television shows, you eat the same meals, you walk the same familiar routine of days and weeks and months. And slowly, without those fresh experiences to bring you closer, the only memories left are the old ones. And not all of those are good. Old resentments can start to fill the space where laughter used to be, and you may not even realize it until it feels too heavy to lift. There is another truth that often hides in plain sight: health changes shape every relationship. When your body hurts, when you are tired, when you are dealing with medications or restless nights, it is harder to be patient. It is harder to be generous with your energy. And if your wife is going through her own health struggles, it can feel like you are both carrying heavy loads, with no one free to help the other. Even simple interactions can feel like too much. And so you both retreat into your own corners. And then there is communication, or more often, the lack of it. We tell ourselves that after decades together, our partner should just know how we feel. We think they should be able to read our minds, to sense our moods, to understand the words we are not speaking. But most of the time they do not. No, they cannot know unless we tell them. And when those small misunderstandings pile up year after year, it begins to feel easier to say nothing at all rather than untangle the knots. And the silence grows. But here is the good news, and I want you to hear this clearly, because it matters just as distance can sneak in slowly. Closeness can return the same way. Small steps, small choices, small changes in how you show up for each other. Choosing to listen without defending, choosing to understand Before you criticize, taking a moment to remember why you chose this person in the first place. What made you laugh together? What made you feel safe? What made you feel seen? Those things are often still there, hiding under the habits and hurts that have built up over time, and they can be uncovered if you are willing to look. Staying curious is one of the most powerful things you can do. Ask her what her dreams are now. Not the dreams she had years ago, but the ones she carries today. Ask her what scares her now, not the fears of her 20s, but the ones that keep her awake at night. In this season of life, ask her what she needs now, and be ready to share what you need to. Opening that door might feel awkward or risky, especially if you have both been quiet for years, but it is never too late to start speaking again. You know a couple who began with something incredibly simple. Every Friday night they sat down together, with no television, no phones, no distractions, and each one shared one good thing from the week and one hard thing. No judgment, no advice, no fixing, just listening. At first it felt strange and stiff, but over time it became something they both looked forward to. That one small ritual gave them a safe place to connect again. Another man I spoke to decided he would take a short walk with his wife every morning, just 15 minutes around the block. In the beginning they barely spoke, but as the days passed, the quiet started to open into conversation. They began to share memories, ideas, even jokes, and the simple act of moving forward side by side, step by step, made a difference they had not expected. Sometimes it really is the smallest actions done consistently that rebuild the strongest bridge. It is also important to care for yourself, because the truth is, when you feel better physically and emotionally, you are more patient, more present, and more loving. Get enough sleep, eat food that makes you feel nourished, move your body in a way that feels good, spend time with friends, do things that make you feel alive, not as a way of pulling away from your spouse, but as a way of filling your own cup so that you have something to pour back into the relationship. And perhaps the hardest but most freeing step is to accept what is. People change, you have changed, she has changed. That is not a failure, that is simply life. The key is to find new ways to love each other in this new season, new ways to laugh together, new ways to appreciate the person your partner is today, not just the person they were years ago. If you can find joy in the present version of each other, you will discover that love can grow in unexpected directions, even after decades together. So if you are feeling that distance, that frustration, or even that quiet anger, take a deep breath. You are not broken. Your marriage is not broken. You are standing at a crossroads, and you have a choice. You can let the space between you widen until it becomes a wall, or you can take even the smallest step to reach across it right now. This moment can be the start of something better. You can choose to remember. You can choose to speak. You can choose to listen. You can choose to try again. Wherever you are on your journey, know this: it is never too late to choose love, and the moments when it feels hardest to choose are often the moments when choosing it matters most.